Welcome, everyone. Have a good evening. My name is Anna Liu, and I'm the current chair of the Philippines-Canada Trade Council. I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's event. This event would not have been possible if not for the joint efforts of all the board members. On their behalf, I would like to thank each and every one of you who are attending tonight's event. We are so pleased that you are able to make it to tonight's event. We welcome all the PCTC members who have been with us for many years, those who were previous members, and those who are attending our event for the very first time. The PCTC board has been working hard to line up events such as this every month to be able to reach out to our membership base and send out our invitation to those who are not yet part of the organization. We are extremely honored to welcome our esteemed Philippine Ambassador to Canada, His Excellency Rodolfo Dia Robles, as our keynote speaker tonight. Thank you so much, Ambassador. We are also welcoming to our meeting the Philippine Embassy representatives from Ottawa and the representatives from the different Philippine consulate offices in Canada, Winnipeg, Toronto, and Calgary. Special thanks go to the Philippine Consulate Office here in Vancouver, who are always there for PCTC, especially the Consulate General Maria Angelita Austria and the Deputy Consulate General Arlene Magno for assisting us in getting the embassy group together tonight. What an amazing show of support for us Filipinos. We also have representatives from professional organizations who will be sharing their stories of struggles and triumphs of living and working here in Canada. The engineers, represented by Mr. Edgardo Tapia of the National Association of Mapua Alumni BC Chapter. The accountants, represented by the founding president of the Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Ms. Marisa Velarde. And the nurses, represented by Mr. Walter Lumamba, the regional council member of the BC Nurses Union, and Ms. Thea Lopez, an orthopedic nurse. PCTC is very passionate about tonight's topic. Qualification recognition is so important to us immigrants. It is the process of verifying that the knowledge, skills, work experience, and education we obtained in our home country are compatible to the standards established for Canadian professionals and tradespeople. As you will all agree, foreign immigrants face this problem when coming to live and work in Canada. They end up being either unemployed, underemployed, or are deemed overqualified for many reasons. A few of these reasons are: one, they are fundamentally different education and training systems from our home country; two, language proficiency issues; and three, financial constraints. So without further ado, I bring you tonight's Master of Ceremony, the immediate past chair and the committee lead of tonight's event, Mr. Irv Hildebrand.
Thank you, Anna. It's great to see everybody here today, and I would like to jump right into our evening's events. And I would ask you to welcome with me Marisa Velarde. She is our first speaker for this evening, and Marisa comes to us having been a student back in the University of Nueva Cáceres in Naga City, where she got her bachelor degree in commerce and in accounting, and that started off her career. She got her CPA license in November 1983 in the Philippines, and then she started her own public practice in Laguna. She joined the PICPA Laguna chapter as an active member then, and thereafter in 1995, she decided to move to Canada, and she looked for jobs here in Canada, but constantly being asked about her Canadian experience. And it was during that time that she decided to organize PICPA Vancouver, Canada, to help new immigrants that were CPAs. In November 2002, PICPA Vancouver was organized with 21 members in good standing. And Marissa, a year later, decided to pursue her CGA designation here in Canada. Then in November 2005, Marissa got her designation. And she has been an active force within the community, for the Philippine community ever since. And so join with me as we welcome Marissa to speak to us today.
Good evening. Thank you, Herb, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. His Excellency Ambassador Rodolfo Dia Robles, Consul General Consul General Maria Austria, sorry about that, Deputy Consul Arlene Magno, PCTC members and guests of different associations, and I welcome you all tonight. Let me present to you the PICPA Vancouver, Canada, when it was organized. Can you please show me the slides, please? Thank you.
Vancouver.
Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. PICPA Vancouver, Canada was organized in November of 2002. On January 23 of 2003, we submitted our letter of intent to PICPA Manila with 21 members in good standing. Then on March 22 of 2003, it was approved by PICPA Manila under Board Resolution RBM 030305, which was signed by the late Executive Director, Horace Dumlao. On November 4 of 2003, we decided to have our name approved by the Minister of Finance, then followed by the incorporation of our association on January 30 of 2004. Then after that, we decided to register it with Canada Customs and Revenue Agency, which is now the Canada Revenue Agency, and then followed by the opening of our bank account with the Bank of Montreal. Then comes the next event, which was the PICPA Global Conference in Vancouver on May 23 to 29, 2011, which were attended by all accountants from all over the world. It was hosted by PICPA Vancouver in Marriott Hotel, Vancouver. On July 16 of 2011, PICPA Calgary was founded. The founding president was Manny Felicio, and we were invited to that event. And I inducted personally the founding officers of the chapter. Next slide, please. Then, how did we accomplish the accreditation? First was the accreditation with CGA-BC. CGA, when somebody phoned me about PICPA Vancouver, because most of the members before are asking for certificate in good standing from Manila. Later on, when we did learn that there's a CGA and there's a chapter in BC, they agreed that all members who are applying for CGA can just get it from us. So on November of 2011, Several members were denied their degrees from the Philippines. From then on, followed by November 24 of 2011, CGABC decided to amend their policy. If the degree program has been approved by CHED, the degree will be accepted as having met the Canadian degree requirement, whether or not the conferring university is a center of excellence. So they decided to review all the members who applied with them, and those who were denied their degrees were all approved. So all Filipino CPAs who applied as student in CGABC during that time were approved their degree requirement. They don't have to they don't have to study again and have another degree in Canada. Then on February 21 of 2014, the board of directors, past presidents, and yours truly met with the registered professional accountant of Alberta officials, and an agreement was made to accredit Philippine CPA designation of PICPA members who wish to obtain the RPA designation. Now, January 1 of 2015, the designation was changed to Professional Business Accountant. Then on October 2016, the designation was changed again to Public Business Accountant, PBA and PC, because CPA questioned the term professional. Then how accreditation with RPA. On March 13 of 2014, RPAA signed an agreement with PICPA Vancouver, Canada, to refer any Philippine CPA applying to the RPA program to PICPA Vancouver, Canada, and require a PICPA certificate in good standing. Upon presentation of a PICPA certificate in good standing, the following benefits were given by RPAA to PICPA members. They waived the application fee of $100 for applicants before June 30 of 2014. They were exempted from LEAP 1 and 2, and the assessment led them to exemption from accounting and business courses already completed as a part of certification as a public accountant obtained from the Philippines. They were also exempted for accounting work, undergoing accounting work experience in Canada, provided they have experience from the Philippines and also in Canada. So on July 1 of 2014, RPA BC chapter was announced, and all members were transferred to RPA BC chapter. Every member of RPAA is also a member of the National Association RPAC, and any member in good standing may transfer their membership to any chapter in Canada. There were 8 members from PICPA Vancouver who applied for the RPA designation before June 30 of 2014 and availed of the exemptions. Then we did the accreditation with CPA. Our members are requiring certificates of good standing from us. But the policies have changed with CPA, which is Chartered Professional Accountant. Philippine CPAs can now challenge the exam to be a Canadian CPA. How is it done? You have to apply to the Chartered Professional Accountants Western School of Business, which is CPAWSB, which is located in Edmonton, Alberta, to the International Designate Pathway. That's the pathway to apply for being accredited as a Canadian CPA. You have to become a member of PICPA Vancouver, Canada, request a certificate in good standing from our chapter. To be in good standing, member must be active with the chapter, which is having at least attended 3 meetings or seminars in a year. This is a new requirement, another certification from us. It's a certificate of grades from PRC or a transcript of the designation, which is very new. We issue this one upon providing all the requirements that we need from them. They have to show us their transcript of records from PRC, but we don't disclose their grades. Then we submit directly all the requirements to CPA WSP to apply for an assessment. The members cannot submit this directly to CPA WSP. PICPA Vancouver will be the one to submit this one. Our first member who applied to the new requirements last September 21 of 2021 was assessed last October 18, 2021 as follows. He was accepted to the International Designate Pathway. He was exempted from all CPA preparatory courses, and he has the option to challenge the exams for Core 1, Core 2, and 2 electives. He also need to take full courses on Capstone 1 and 2, and he need to complete the Common Final Examination and complete the 30-month practical experience requirement, which can be exempted provided he has to submit his working experience in the Philippines and in Canada. Next slide, please. Our 5 areas of focus are community service, environment, professional development, scholarship program, and mentorship. A community service, we offer tax clinic and environment cleanup drive. We recently did cleanup in Locarno Beach. And we do professional development. We do Zoom seminars because of the pandemic. Then our new program was the scholarship program. We sponsored 2 scholars in UP Birata School of Business and Accountancy who are in need of financial resources and excel in their studies. They are both aspiring CPAs. And we do mentorship as well. PICPA Vancouver is already 19 years old in Vancouver. We'll be celebrating our 20 years anniversary next year in November. Right now, PICPA Vancouver, Canada have 208 members. Out of this number, only 85 are active members and 123 are members who are not in good standing with our chapter. In 2015, our members are more than 300. Right now, we're just like this. Out of the 85 active members, 28 designated CPAs in Canada, 8 designated PPAs, 3 members are from Ontario and 1 from Kamloops. Our current projects right now, we are currently organizing PICPA Ontario chapter. We are in the process of applying to be an affiliate organization with CPA. With a sponsorship of UP Birata School of Business and Accountancy scholars, website updates and changes, continuing professional development through Zoom, and we recently partnered with Bloomik for professional development seminars.
Thank you, Marissa. That was.
I think I need to make an adjustment because I'm an accountant. Sorry. Our website is www.picpa.ca and our email is info@picpa.ca. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marissa. Sorry for cutting in too soon. I'm amazed at everything that you've done, and we thank you for giving us a brief window into much of your work. If people do have comments or questions, please enter them into the chat line, and we would love to address them after we've heard from all 3 presenters. Secondly, I'd like to introduce to you Edgardo Tapia. He is a mechanical engineer, having studied in Mapua Institute of Technology. He's also a member of the National Association of the Mapua Alumni, BC chapter. And we can take some credit here at PCTC that he is an active member with our Vancouver chapter. As well, I'd like to say that he was a past president of PCTC, so he comes to us with high credentials. Ed, thank you so much for attending this evening, and if you would, please share some of your thoughts with us tonight.
Thank you, Herb. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Rodolfo Robles, Consul General Andrelita, Austria, Anna Lu, President, Chair of Philippines-Canada Trade Council. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. The topic of engineering graduate accreditation in Canada was brought about during the engineering and technical professional. We have a virtual meeting last spring, wherein George Chow was one of the guest speakers. And I asked George Chow for how can he help us or help the engineering graduates that's coming in Canada without the accreditation of the necessary board here in Canada. What happens is, without this accreditation, these engineering graduates or professionals who just come in Canada tend to grab or land a job as meat cutters out of the line of his training. Meat cutters, some of them are taxi driving, you have cleaning, and so on to go on to make whatever he can to support his family. Not all of them are coming into Canada with a bag full of money who can upgrade themselves and with or without work can support their family for 1 year. So in terms of accreditation, I mentioned that in the USA they have ABET. Now ABET is an accreditation board for engineering and technology, which is recognized in the USA but not here in Canada. In Canada, we have the Engineers Canada with a subcommittee that is the Engineering Accreditation CEAB, Canadian Engineering Accreditation Board, which is based in Ottawa. Now, this accreditation board will oversee applications of accreditation from outside of North America. They accept application from January 1 and will go on to the process of talking to the respective schools or applicants to be accredited or up to June of the same year, and from there they will have to communicate and then arrange a visit by the representative of Engineers Canada to the respective schools. So they have to communicate with all schools who are willing to or would like to have an accreditation in Canada should communicate with the Canadian Engineering Accreditation Board. way back in 2004, may I mention that the president of Mapua Institute of Technology, Ray Bea, was present here in Vancouver in our world reunion. And then he declared that Mapua Institute of Technology, which is now Mapua University, had been accepted by ABET, or the graduates of Mapua had been approved for accreditation by ABET in the USA. Now, here in Canada, we have the Canadian Engineering Accreditation Board. Both of them have the same or similar accreditation process. So, out of that, we are grateful to His Excellency Ambassador Robles for pursuing to intercede on behalf regarding the complicated process of the schools to be included in the accreditation of Philippine engineering graduates to Canada. We expect we hope that His Excellency will be intercede on our behalf regarding the complicated process of our school to be included in the accreditation of Philippine engineering graduates. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Yes, there are many groups that are in need of having an intercessory to help the process along to bring about accreditation here in Canada. With that being said, I would like to take a moment and introduce a third speaker, and his name is Walter Lumumba, who is a graduate from Davao and graduated in 1991 at San Pedro College as a nurse. He went to England and worked as a nurse and moved to Canada in 2008. He was hired as a registered nurse at the Fraser Health Authority here in British Columbia. He became active in the BC Nurses Union in 2009 until now. Presently, he is the provincial chair for men in nursing. He was elected in 2017 as BC Nurses Union Council member, and in his second term, and also right now they have approximately 48,000 members across Canada. He's been active in his advocating for IENs since 2010, and we're most interested to hear from him today as he addresses a topic that the ambassador will be addressing, and that is the nurses' accreditation process. Walter, please step in and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Irvin. I really appreciate. First thing first, I would like to acknowledge that I am in the Coast Salish territory of British Columbia, unceded territory of Coast Salish people, particularly in Kwantlen, Semi-Amo, and Katsi First Nations. To our beloved Excellency Ambassador Rodolfo Robles, thank you for the invite, and also to our Consul General Maria Austria, the second time I meet you, ma'am, and then of course Annalu for allowing me to speak in behalf of the nurses in this province, and maybe as well because I have seen some guests here coming from different province. I mentioned Don Morales, who's one of the program director of the Saskatchewan University as well. He's here to listen to our appeal and our advocacy. We've been working together with regards to that. And Thea, one of our nurses who just recently have been hired to coming to a process, a very, very complicated process, becoming a nurse here in BC. I would like, I don't know if I've sent my document and how the process is. I think that's it. Good. So these are 4 pages of how becoming a nurse here. I'm going to focus on British Columbia itself, but I believe this is also a process. The challenges that we have from different provinces. So before 2009, I came here in BC, just 3 months, already a nurse here in BC, for 3 months alone coming from England. After 2009, there's so much complication happened because you have to undergo some assessment process and some education to provide bridging for nurses abroad who's been graduate from abroad. So there are so many steps, and I hope I could summarize everything because the steps could lead to a nurse becoming a registered for at least the minimum of 2 to 3 years becoming a nurse. And so much complicated and very expensive process for nurses coming to be here. One step is to go to what we call the National Nursing Assessment Service. This is an organization, an agency come in the States, in Georgia, that will verify the credential of nurses across the globe. So for example, it came from the Philippines. So everything must be verified by this agency, and there's so many processes you have to undergo. So the challenge are, of course, you have to pay the $650 US. I don't know if it's increased now because this data is between last year. And then you have to apply and inform the college back at home that you want this and all the documents to be sent back to them. So that's the step one. And I mean, what are our challenges? Most nurses, Filipino nurses, comes to this agency. They have committed that in 6 weeks' time, they were able to have a result of the verification of your credentials, including the college, university coming from PRC. Unfortunately, it would come, unfortunately, that 6 weeks may not going to happen because of the delay of the documents going forward, coming from our own country itself. So even maybe Thea could explain that later, how many years that she waited that NNAS documents have done. So those are the things, NNAS to verify. And then can you move that up, please? Just to shortcut everything. So everything, the translation, you have to pay everything for that amount. Every documents you forwarded to them should be notarized, and all the process that it took. They were saying minimum of 6 weeks, but until actually the process starts when you start paying it, right? So these are the forms that you have to, all your nursing education form, nursing registration form, all the documents, even your experience coming from one hospital, for example, from Makati Med, all your documents should be submitted to NNAS as well. Go down, please. And then in NNAS, different provinces have different process. Like, for example, the process in BC have changed about the language testing. Before, the NNAS will require you to have an English exam and then to pass the test, right? So there are some categories and how much the grade itself for your exam. And then that's the time they will going to tell the regulatory body that you passed the exam or whatsoever. So, right? So, but now since July, the BC, or what we call the BCCNM, or British Columbia College of Nurses and Midwiferys, have changed their process. So they are now the ones who are going to decide whether you have to undergo English exam or not. So now it would depend to them. So there's another layer of payment you're going to do if you do this one. So you can see the figures, the amount you're going to pay. Mostly US dollars or Canadian dollars. It would depend of where you're going to take the exam, right? So everything after the submitting all forms, and anyways, we'll look over your file, and then they will provide you an advisory report. And this advisory report will be given to your college itself and where the province is. So that, for example, here in BC, we call it BCCNM, they're going to give you all that the college, all the verification that you are a registered nurse, and the documents are all legal, or you have practiced more than 5 years, etc. And now going down, just going to, I'm conscious about the time. Now the BCCNM will decide to you, okay, hey, for example, I'm going to name Pedro. Hey, Pedro, you're going to take the NCAS assessment form. This is NCAS is required to every foreign nurses to verify whether your what's that called, your competency about your knowledge or the gaps that they're going to determine what are your gaps. Like, for example, if you are an RN, so once you've done the assessment coming from BCCNM, they will require you to, hey, go a course or whatsoever, right? So, and then this is our computer-based assessment or simulation lab that cost a lot of money as well. So if you're going to see the figures in there, those are the payment that you're going to do, and it depends on what are the exam you're doing or the assessment, whether you are a licensed practical nurse or registered nurse or registered psychiatric nurse. There's some $500 to pay, and then as a healthcare aide, you also have you need to do that assessment as well. So those are the process. So I'm not going to talk the details about how the simulation exam or assessment is done. I'll just go down to the decision of BCCNM, or we call BCCNP here because it's old data from last year. So after that assessment, then the BCCNM will decide whether to complete individual courses, right? So these are the only selected university here in BC that you're going to do, like Kwantlen in Polytechnic or Thomson Rivers in Kamloops, but and also whether you complete individual courses or complete a Bachelor of Science nursing degree, a recognized nursing school, or complete a re-entry program. But the good thing here in BCCNM now is that they also recommend Saskatchewan Polytechnic, and coming from Novas, I think there's another province, a school that they also recommend. Even if they recommend like the school of Don Morales, one of my friend here, who's the program director of the IEN program, if the BCCNM recommends to go to that out-of-province school, at least they don't have to do the NCAS assessment anymore or whatsoever, because they have recommended already. So the process of that is really a struggle for nurses here. We have thousands of nurses coming from the Philippines, come to Canada, that cannot even take the process because it's so expensive, and then costs a lot of money, and then it causes a lot of stress to the family as well, because you have a child, for example, child care, right? So I would like to ask Thea to share her experience. Thea, maybe you can just to summarize what you have done to make sure that she was able to cope up for the past 3 years becoming a nurse here. Thea, I'm sorry, I talk so much, but after Thea, I'm going to ask the ambassador, how can he influence? How can he influence, especially the challenges we have, even because we can control the decision of the regulatory body in Canada. We cannot control what the bureaucracy is doing here, why there's so expensive. We cannot control the decision of the government why this NNAS coming from outside Canada, the verification program. How can we influence that? I was hoping the ambassador could influence the decision of Canadian government that this is the process that we need to do. But how about the PRC in the Philippines? Maybe we could have a consistency of documents to be submitted in NNAS. How about the university in the Philippines, which we can influence itself because we are from the Philippine government? Because I believe one of the nurses here got received 300 pages of documentation coming from, and the delay of the process from our end, sending the documents in NNAS as well. And even I myself, I would like to request a document coming from PRC, why does the PRC requires me a CNE, what they call this, like accreditation, which I'm not even working in the Philippines anymore. There are so many bureaucracies happening that triggers the delay of those documents, that maybe the ambassador could investigate why the delay, and then how is that be consistent to other schools as well, other universities. And also the question of, I know I know Maria, our Consul General, have talked to the leadership of the union as well. How can we that the accreditation becoming more equivalent to the Canadian education to the Philippines as well? I think that's another layer that we need to discuss. So yeah, I mean, sorry it took some time, but Thea, please.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. If I can please have my slides, that would be great. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, especially to our esteemed government officials. I'm very sure my Father in heaven is dancing and is very proud for me speaking in front of everyone here. My background makes me miss the Philippines so much. I haven't been home since 2011. Just to be here right in front of you, achieving my Canadian dream. So just for a disclaimer, my experience is quite the quicker one, is quite quicker than most of the IENs. And generally, it takes about 3 to 5 years in order to get your RN in BC, Canada. So I'm here to shed light of what happens actually in ground zero. Next slide, please. So my name is Thea Lopez, and I have been an IEN for 12 years. Mainly, I've done 2 years of my experience back in the Philippines and 10 years in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And here is my nursing pathway. We came to Canada in 2017. And my husband and myself, we are both internationally educated nurses. So you can continue on, please, by clicking all the way to the end. Thank you so much. So no, not yet. Back, please. That's it. So in 2017, my family and myself came to Canada together with our daughter. I was also pregnant then with my son. My husband and myself, we came to Canada with the mindset that we can literally flip burgers just to survive being in Canada. And we are ready to take on being an immigrant. So when we came here, the first challenge that we faced was having no available quality accessible childcare. So that was the first problem. And with that problem, as a result, my husband forwarded as an IEN, and he did his upgrading while I stay home and take care of the kids. So imagine, to my surprise, I was the primary applicant for the immigration. And I was the one staying home taking care of the kids. So in 2017, my husband started working as a porter in the hospital, and I stayed home with the kids. So fast forward to 2019, because once you come to Canada, you have to do your paperworks. After your paperworks, you have to satisfy the English requirement. After satisfying the English requirement, you have to take the exam. The exam is 3 parts. And after that exam, when they say that you need to do your re-entry program, then that's again a new problem of a long waiting list. So as an example of that, my husband waited 13 months to get a seat to get into the college. But already at this point, he already finished all of the requirements. But he still needed to wait for 13 months just to start on to the re-entry program. So while he was doing his studies, I began working as a perioperative assistant at VGH and UBC And at this point, I also did slowly my professional advancement. I did my NCAS, which is the examination, and I was also referred for re-entry program just like him. In April 2020, my husband completed his Guinea program given by Queensland University. And a month after, I started my bridging program in Saskatchewan Polytechnic, which actually became a blessing because we didn't have access to affordable, quality, and accessible childcare. So at this point, first I was denied by KPU because my English is expired for 1 month. And at this point, I already had three English exams. First was for the immigration, second was for the NNAS process, and at this point, because my IELTS is already expired, I needed to take one more. So TRU declined me as well because they needed 1,400 hours of care aid, working as a care aid in order for you to be accepted in their cohorts. But again, how can I get those 1,400 hours if I'm taking care of the kids at home? So to make the long story short, I proceeded with Saskatchewan Polytechnic, which was very much a blessing, and COVID happened. So doing my bridging at home online with Saskatchewan Polytechnic was actually the best decision I have done at that point. So in 2021, I finished my ONCEN program, and I was already accepted for a job. I was already accepted for a job as a corrections nurse, a jail nurse, and as well as a surgical nurse. So I just wanted to for everyone to know that in BC, if an internationally educated nurse, you haven't been in a Canadian workforce as an RN within 5 years, all of your nursing experience will be erased. As for myself, good thing that I finished, because then I was 4 years and 3 months from my last nursing experience. So imagine if I graduated 2022, all my 12 years of nursing experience will be erased. Next slide, please. So what were the barriers? First of all, for myself, I can only speak for myself and for my husband, but I'm very sure that a lot of IENs can resonate to our experience. So first of all, with NNAS, they asked my scholastic records 3 times. The same paper, more than 300 pages of document, which was sent from Philippines to Canada 3 times. So imagine the money that we spent for that process, and asking somebody in the Philippines to do that is quite problematic because I have nobody, I have no more relatives back home. So doing that process, I have to pay someone to actually go to my college, pay for their, for doing the process in my behalf, and so on and so forth. 3 times for the same document. First, they told me that the paper was not enough. On the second time, they said they lost it. And the third time, they said they wanted me to resend it. So who am I to question that, right? So I have to abide by their rules. So next would be the referral for the re-entry program was with a long waiting list. As an example, my husband waited 13 months to get into KPU, but actually, for most of the people I have spoken with, they're averaging from 1.5 years to 2 years to get into the cohort, which is actually one cohort for KPU is 35 students. I believe TRU is the same, and Sask Polytech is 10. So that is also another side of the problem here. And then our third problem was lack of affordable, quality, and accessible childcare. I'll give you an example. I have a friend today, she spoke to me. She finally got the chance to do her re-entry program. This is 10 years. Her husband and herself had been in BC, Canada for 10 years. And she also has a 12 years background of nursing in Dubai. And both of them are OR nurses in Dubai. So now they missed that 12 years of experience, but at least now she's back on track. But because of that, as a result of that, she becomes now a fresh graduate in BC, Canada. Another one is the confusing process, money draining, and time-consuming process of being an RN. And then I just wanted to tell you about my photo here, which is, I always show this to everyone that I talk to, which shows this is at least in my eyes.
Thea, I'm just going to thank you so much for that presentation and very specific and detailed one. I really appreciate for that sharing. So this is what we would like to hear the ambassador, the consul generals who can influence the government in Canada itself. So there are thousands of nurses who's not working yet at this point of time, being here and an immigrant. There are taxi drivers, they work in Tim Hortons and everything. So these are the challenges. If you don't have money, you cannot go in this process. So what are the challenges that we have? And hoping there are some organizations who could assist us on providing this opportunity to help our fellow IENs or nurses, Filipino nurses. There are some advocacy that working on here. I think there's some audiences here works with us with Philippine Nurses Association in Canada. We try to build, hoping that could help us organize and some information. Any immigrants who come to Canada, easy access. For example, in one in the government or site or in our consul site, that this is the direction that we have, or some advocacy or some speakers that could help these individuals to come here in Canada. I think that's the only thing we like to ask from the consuls and the ambassadors itself, that give us a chance to provide us a chance that you helping us on advocacy that shorten the process, and also a little bit cheaper for us. It's so expensive.
All right. Thank you so much, Walter and Thea, for sharing your experiences and advocating for the group of nurses under your union. I'd like to introduce you now to the Vice Chair of the PCTC, to introduce Neil Moore, to introduce the ambassador.
Thank you very much, President Anna. I first want to acknowledge that I'm joining this evening from the traditional ancestral and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Consul General Austria, other distinguished consuls, President Anna and PCTC members and guests from Canada and throughout the world, I'm honored to introduce our guest speaker this evening, His Excellency Ambassador Rodolfo Díaz-Robles. Ambassador Robles graduated cum laude with a Bachelor of Law degree from San Beda University, and after topping the 1967 bar examinations, he began teaching law at his alma mater. In 1971, he completed a Master's of Law degree at Harvard Law School, and was then elected delegate to the 1971 Constitutional Convention at the age of 27. And there he successfully authored and incorporated the Ombudsman and the Miranda Doctrine into the 1972 Constitution. He began a law practice, which later became Robles Brillantes Recafente Natura and Aguirre law firm. And then at 34, he returned to academia, where he became the dean of the Arellano Law School in Menlo, which is the largest law school in the Philippines today. In 2018, he was appointed a member of the Consultative Committee to review the 1987 Constitution and finalized the draft for the federal Constitution. and he was then assigned to redraft the provisions of the Ombudsman to make it more effective. In 2019, we were very privileged when in Canada here, when he was appointed as the ambassador to the Philippines in Canada. And tonight we are very, very privileged to have Ambassador Robles serving in Canada and of course joining us this evening. Ambassador Robles.
Thank you, Neil, for that introduction. Officers and members of the Philippine-Canada Trade Council, my colleagues in the diplomatic mission, mga kababayan, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everyone. Let me first thank the Philippine-Canada Trade Council for your kind invitation for me to join you this evening. As your ambassador, it has always been my priority to make myself available to the almost 1 million strong Filipino diaspora across Canada. For indeed, the Filipino is the anchor diaspora upon which we build Philippine-Canadian bilateral relationship. Therefore, welcome the election last September of Ms. Richie Valdez from Mississauga, Ontario, to the Federal House of Commons, the second Canadian of Filipino heritage to be elected to the federal parliament since the election of 1997. It is comforting to have a Filipino representative in the chamber where Canadian laws are produced. One of the most frequent questions I have been asked shortly after my arrival in Ottawa last October 2020 was my priorities as Philippine ambassador to Canada. My reply has been consistent and immediate. I intend to push the envelope forward in securing the recognition in Canada of the academic credentials and overseas experience of Filipino professionals who have migrated to Canada. I appreciate that labor rules and regulations fall under the jurisdiction of the provincial governments and not with the federal government. I know that all immigrants to Canada, not only Filipinos, face the same challenges on credentials recognition. But we cannot merely be bystanders on this issue. A significant number of Filipinos in Canada are affected directly. The issue of credentials recognition has been raised regularly in conversations between Philippine and Canadian governments, even years prior to my arrival. The new perspective I brought to this issue was my decision to adopt a focused and coordinated approach by Philippine Post in Canada, which would consist of identifiable and auditable steps in order to measure our success or lack of it. The approach is referred to as our Credentials Recognition in Canada, or we call CRC project. On 30 March and 20 April of this year, I organized a series of focused group discussions to ascertain the various steps taken by our Philippine Posts in Canada on credentials recognition, and I identify those actions which have been successful in either raising awareness of the issue or facilitating the actions taken by provincial and local governments in Canada to harness the full potentials of Filipino professionals who have migrated to Canada. After this series of focus group discussions, Philippine Post in Canada crafted and agreed on a joint plan of action, which we officially launched on 1st June 2021. The plan of action consists of 14 action plans to be implemented in both the Philippines and Canada, with the sole purpose of facilitating the recognition of credentials of Filipino professionals who have migrated to Canada. To give you an insight into those action points, let me share some of these. First, we prepared an information brochure to be distributed during our various meetings with Filipino communities across Canada, which provides an overview of the accreditation process for the benefit of newly arrived Filipino migrants belonging to the nursing profession. That brochure has now been finalized, and we are in the process of going through our procurement procedure to print them. We will also distribute this information brochure to Filipinos attending pre-departure orientation seminars in Manila. Second, we are engaging the Philippine Commission on Higher Education, the National Nursing Association Service of Canada, in order to document and evaluate the nursing curriculum in the Philippines and in Canada, with the end in view of ensuring that the required educational subjects in Canada are offered in the Philippines. This is expected to eliminate the need for bridging programs, which the Filipinos professionals arriving in Canada, the academic curriculum he or she has completed in the Philippines already meets the requirements of Canada. The Philippine Consulate General in Vancouver is taking the lead in this engagement, and we are making progress on this action point. Another action point we are pursuing is promoting government-to-government recruitment of Filipinos in Canadian provinces, which will require their support in addressing the issue of credentials recognition. We are initially pursuing this with the provinces of Prince Edward Island and Newfoundland and Labrador. I have submitted a draft government-to-government arrangement to the Department of Labor or DOLE in Manila. Requested their approval for me to present a proposal with the provincial governments in Canada. I'm looking forward to receiving the approval from DOLE soon. As we implement our plan of action, I convene periodic assessment meetings to audit our progress and provide opportunities to our Philippine posts in Canada to propose new action points which will help us meet the purpose of our CRC project. To date, I have convened 2 periodic assessment meetings, 13 August and the 2nd and 15 October. We remain on track to complete all 14 actions soon. I am hopeful that once we have finalized 2 or more government-to-government arrangements and conclude the official assessment by relevant Canadian regulatory authorities of our academic curriculum, among others, the first year of implementation of our CRC project, Foundation for Facilitating Credential Recognition, Filipino professionals who have migrated to Canada. In my recent town hall meetings with the Filipino communities in Montreal, Mongkok, and Halifax, I have received offers of assistance in relation to our CRC project. We appreciate these offers to take advantage of them when we create and implement the second stage of our CRC project next year. Yes, this project will not conclude at the end of 2021, but it will continue to be evaluated, audited, and reviewed by the Philippine Post in Canada as a team working together until we have reached the level of accommodation extended to Filipino medical professionals in the United States and the United Kingdom by their governments. We have started with Filipinos in the nursing profession, but we will also pursue the same goal for other Filipino professionals who are meeting similar constraints in the practice of their professions. I then invite you to join me in this journey of the CRC project. Together, we can work together to facilitate the full contribution by Filipinos to their adopted communities here in Canada. We will continue this journey until we reach the day when there will be no more hurdles for us to break down. Our approach shall be to move this issue consistently forward, slowly at first, but with a bang at the end. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat and good luck to every professionals here in Canada. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Robles. It's great to hear some good news from you. Thank you for the time and energy that you put into your work in getting the much needed accreditation for our medical practitioners. We trust that this is just the start to more good news from your office in getting the process going for the rest of the professions as well. To all the attendees, we are now opening the question and answers that you may have for all the speakers, including the ambassador. So if you could please put them in the chat. Irv will be reading them out so that the respected persons could be able to answer them.
To begin with, Walter, I'd like to ask you a question regarding the nurses. Of the nurses that are presently employed, is there a number that come from the Philippines that you can identify?
Actually, that's some of the challenges that we have from DCCNM, that we cannot pull the names or where these nurses came from. It's mostly, they have provided us just recently the data that 800 nurses internationally have applied on behalf just for the past 6 months, right? But only 300 passed by to be included in the program for bridging at the moment. So I don't have no idea with regards to how many Filipino nurses on that matter. But I think that's the discussion between our president and Maria, the Austria, or the Consul General. I think that's another advocacy that we're going to do, hoping that we can fill those, we identify the numbers of Filipino.
Ambassador.
I see a hand raised, Irv. I cannot identify them.
Is it possible they could enter their question in the chat?
Yeah.
I think Neil raised a hand.
Yeah, thanks. I think this is directed perhaps to Walter and Thea, and to all the presenters. Wonderful to hear of your experiences here and the challenges that you face. Thank you for sharing those comments with us. I'm interested in general from a learning perspective, and if we look at the outcomes of what you learned, and before coming into this, the intention, I presume, of the certification qualification is to ensure that people are at the same standards. And I'm interested to hear from your perspective, did you feel you learned a lot more professionally by going through the additional education in Canada?
So if you're going to, yes, I think that the importance is the bridging program, because the the Canadian nurses, the practice here is, the principle is the same in nursing anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, how we're going to practice is to practice in patient care. It's totally, the approach is totally different. The critical thinking is totally different. And even Don, I don't know if he could say something, because he have created a program in Saskatchewan Polytechnic. How's that going to bridge those Filipino nurses and to have that Canadian practice itself? And even Thea have experience as well, having that education to bridge the gap. Because I believe once you're going to 4-year graduate in the Philippines, and when you be assessed here in Canada, the gap is like 2 years gap. That's the common denominator of that. That's why many nurses have challenged that, hey, there's another 1 year gap you had to study on that process, because Philippines is based in United States kind of nursing approach. Canadian is totally different. So as far as I'm learned, as far as I know, it's different. Even in England has different approach as well when it comes to nursing practice. So there's so many different levels. Even the terms are different. So you have to learn more of those things.
Neil, in my experience being a new RN here in Canada, the main difference is that, to be honest with you, it's very good that we actually did the re-entry program. The problem for me is the process for the paperwork, which is not called for, and it's not needed, to be honest with you, because your documentation, I understand you have to make sure that these RNs are truly RNs. Okay, fine, it's okay, but that is just a snapshot of what these nurses know and what these nurses can do. What they need is integration to the medical system of Canada and not the paperwork, because that is just background. So for me, it is important that the international nurses coming from the Philippines should actually do the re-entry program, which is very important, because the Filipino nurses, we have the skills, we have the right attitude, but the culture is different.
Yeah, Don maybe could share as well. Don?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Don Morales. I'm from Regina, Saskatchewan, and I'm currently the program head for the IEN program, the bridging program for IENs, not just for Saskatchewan, but we have opened the doors to BC students, and we're really glad. As an IEN myself, we're able to reach out to IENs from BC. So from my experience as well, yeah, the bridging program has tremendously helped me get ready for not just becoming an RN in Saskatchewan, but actually getting me to this bigger role I'm doing right now as the program head for the IEN. So I'm in a better role to really help out and advocate for IENs. I think the bridging program is really significant. It gets us ready to hit the road running, and then the thing is, I'd like to re-echo what Walter and Thea. It's really about the process. It's really about the process to get around the workaround, trying to get all the requirements. The case in point, the English language exam, which is really one of the bigger hurdles that our IENs or nurses coming not just from the Philippines, from all over the world. So when they were able to hurdle the first time, the English exam is only good for a couple of years. So these IENs are actually here in Canada. They live and work in Canada. And then how come it has to expire in 2 years, and they have to redo that, and they have to redo that every 2 years. So I hear, I get to listen from IENs who have done the English exam for 5 times. So they have to spend money to allocate time and review for that, and they have to reach every step of the way. The first time they have to do it with the NNAS, if you have heard about that. And before they write at the tail end of their program, they have to write an exam called NCLEX, and they need a current English exam for that as well. They have gone to like a couple of years or 3 years in education, but they have to renew and hurdle and pass that exam even before they write the English language exam, and then they have to write the NCLEX or their licensure exam. And some of it you have to queue up, you have to go out of town, and you have to review and spend. So it all adds up. It all adds up. All the layers of challenges and barriers for the IENs, it's tremendously arduous and significantly frustrating for a lot of IENs. Anecdotally, and I can see those coming into the programs at Saskatchewan Polytechnic, I can say, I think there was a question about probably how many IENs are coming into, coming into Canada on the program itself. I probably have about 60 to 80% of them IENs are from the Philippines coming into the program. So I can probably extrapolate that across the province. A lot of IENs, significantly, I have about 6 to 8 people coming from the Philippines, including myself. I have now gone back first, full circle as an IEN. Now I'm doing the program for IENs in Saskatchewan. So the layers and layers of challenges, really. English exam, the tedious process, starting off from the NNAS. And then another thing I wanted to, I'm on this platform is really about provincial and federal government really trying to help IENs access fundings when they're trying to navigate through this arduous journey as an IEN, getting through their, the layers of challenges. I know there's a couple of agencies, I guess I heard in BC, maybe some in Alberta. There's nothing in place in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, or Toronto has one, but there's lots of IENs they need to reach out, perhaps from the embassies, from the consulate, that they can partner with the provincial government to get these IENs. Actually, when I came in 2010, I had nobody to help me out. I have to navigate, ask people around, do it. There was just no help. Up until this time in Saskatchewan, there's no agency that's currently helping out for IEN. And this tremendously a sign of inequity for IENs. I see lots of this scaling for IENs in Saskatchewan, just doing, some menial jobs out there. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Don, for speaking. Is there we have a number of questions that are coming in now. There's a question that's posed. Is there a possibility that some of the compliance can be accomplished online and thus reduce the time it takes to get accreditation? I'm wondering if someone could speak to that.
There's a process that can be done online, but the assessment should be in person where the college or the university is going to, like for example in BC, you have to be present here in BC to do the assessment process, right? Because it's in person, it's simulation lab as well. The process of the documentation can be done online. I'm hoping there's a process. Unfortunately, there are some issues that your relatives has to follow through with the agency in the Philippines or the PRC or the school itself. That's good at tedious as well, the process, right? So, and everything can be done online. What we're doing here is some of the few nurses that I know we mentor these nurses who comes here. There's a Facebook group that we formed that to ask questions or whatsoever. So, and those are the things, the challenges as well. Yeah.
So mentorship is a key role.
Yes.
We're looking at it as a trade council. PCTC acts as an intermediary in some of the trade transactions that occur. But how is there a role that we can have aside from the political role? Is there a role that PCTC could have in helping organizations move from a non-accreditation position to accreditation position?
Maybe that's the thing we need to explore, actually, Ervin, and I really appreciate that question. That's what we need in each province as well, as what Don have mentioned, especially in Saskatchewan, if there's an agency that could assist us, because we're doing it voluntarily, individual. We don't have a specific group that when about IENO, here comes the group of Filipino Nurses Association or whatever that could ask to mentor us. Right, for example, for me, I'm here doing it, and some few nurses that reach out to us and ask questions. Okay, call me and we provide you some mentorship. And maybe unlike the PICPA, there's a group that you can go and then provide you the details, information, right? Group of Filipinos, because if I'm going to ask question, it'd rather be ask question to those Filipinos who have experience, and that's very good thing, right? Yeah.
Ambassador, you're nodding your head. Do you have a comment?
Well, I'd just like to respond to the many things I heard tonight. First of all, I would like to thank those who have explained the pathway towards becoming a full registered nurse. All the details that you have mentioned, we have already unpacked them, and we are now trying to put it into action. The main thrust of our movement is to tally the curriculum in the Philippines and in Canada. That's one of them. We are trying also to find out how we can simulate the clinical experience in the Philippines and Canada by perhaps sending somebody over there from Canada and checking out how the clinical practices are in the Philippines. We have also tried to copy some of the practices in UK and I think also in Australia. So all these things we are trying to put in one basket. I know it will take some time because, as you said, there are 10 provinces we have to deal. But as of today, we are trying to start with one from the west and one from the east. I hope the documentations will be formalized soon. But I'm really very thankful for all the details that you have mentioned, from the financial load you have to carry on your shoulder, from the time you waste 2 or 3 years or more, but more specifically on the details that you have all mentioned, Walter and I think Don and the others, and all this. The occasion tonight gives me more insight into what we should do in detail and put into action, because this is my principal advocacy as your ambassador. And so I hope we can get in touch with you, Walter, and all the rest when we need some more information or some more action. Well, I'm really very much touched by the situation of Filipino nurses in Canada, where a nurse who has experience of about 10 years in the Philippines, head of a nursing group, is in Canada working as an aide to old people. You know, it's very degrading to the dignity of Filipinos, and that's what hurts me. That's why I launched this CRC program, and I hope. And as I said, I invite all those who can help to volunteer. Give me all your ideas and your maybe your approaches, because we will be meeting maybe next month or so to assess to audit our performance so far. But all I can say is we are working as a team. All our consulates general, we meet and assess our progress. And so if you have some information, some systems which you can contribute, please pass it on to our consuls general, because we will meet and gather all this in one basket. So I am hopeful that we can do something for the nurses and other professionals here in Canada. So we're just starting with the nurses, because I think there are a lot of nurses here who are not being given their chance to exercise their potentials. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'm reaching out to all the attendees tonight. If you have any questions or any comments to the ambassador, we'll be happy on behalf of PCTC to forward them to you. Please email your concerns or questions to info@pctc.ca. Again, it's info@pctc.ca. Ambassador, do you have any more time to spare for some other questions?
I'm here to serve my.
Thank you very much. Irv, go ahead.
Ambassador, thank you. We should consider the fact that he has a 3-hour time extended beyond ours, so he's into the 11th hour of the night. So I'm hoping he can hold some further questions.
I can engage a few more, maybe. Yeah, if you have any.
Is there an advantage for the medical community or the Philippine medical community to enter into Canada through certain provinces other than British Columbia?
You're asking for advantages?
Yes, would there be a timeline benefit or a financial benefit or an accreditation benefit for nurses or medical professionals to enter into Canada through a different province than British Columbia?
Well, if you're talking of financial loads, which one who's entering into, for instance, in British Columbia, then that is precisely what we would like to lessen as far as I'm concerned. On the other hand, I do not have any figures on my hand regarding how much, are you asking, if you are asking this, how much a nurse earns in the West Coast or in the East Coast or in Saskatchewan, wherever? I don't have those figures, how much they earn. But
no, I think the question would be more in terms of whether there is a financial benefit for entering into the medical profession through a different province.
well, are you talking of the financial help which one who is applying to be registered? Is that
possibly, or the financial cost of registering or getting the accreditation?
Yeah. Well, I think the premier of her name is Premier Stevenson. I forgot the place, but they have a program for financial aid for those who are going through this process, and I think that we are also trying to evolve that system into an East Coast premier whose principal agenda is also for the nurses in their province or in their territory. So I think that is one of the points I emphasized when we were starting my program for this CRC. That besides the ambition, we have to have some kind of a financial package if we can help it. Maybe even from the Philippine government or from the Philippine Association in the Philippines. But I know because if you may have the ambition, but you don't have the gasoline to go on, so you cannot move. So I told them we have to have the ambition, we have to have the financial assistance or capability, and then of course you have to have the guts to go through the process. And that process is what we are trying to simplify as of now.
There's a question here about, are there some pre-approval programs that could be initiated that would simplify the entry into the Canadian market for the medical professionals? And I know we've addressed that somewhat.
Well, of course, that is precisely the purpose of my CRC program, to make it easier, to make it less expensive, and to lessen the time frame involved. So that, but right now I cannot give any specific or definite figures because we are still trying to process all these small items which we will gather in one basket, so that in every province there is one basket, different from the next province. So that is a little more difficult, but we are here to precisely do that.
Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly, Ambassador, for your time and for your effort on our behalf. This has been a very insightful evening that we've been able to experience with you and the other presenters. Thank you kindly for your effort to bring this together and give us some food for thought, and also hopefully some ambition to participate in whatever way we can to move this forward. And again, thank you kindly, everyone, for attending. I wish you all a wonderful evening as we depart from here. I wish you all safety and wellness. Thank you kindly for everybody attending. I wish you all a good night.
Thank you, everyone. I would like to extend our invitation to all of you to join us as a member of the PCTC. We will be having other important and interesting sessions such as this We have a series called PCTC Connects, and we have it every month. For the month of December, we're going to have a networking event with a Christmas program, and early next year we will be having some representatives from the BCPNP, the provincial nomination program, to speak about immigration programs that have been set up. So I hope you can join us as members. You could log into our website at www.pctc.ca and like our social media accounts on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. With that, I wish to thank everybody, including the Ambassador of the Philippines to Canada, Ambassador Robles. We are so honored to have you here tonight, and all the rest of the speakers. I hope that everybody enjoyed this evening, and we wish you a lovely and restful night. Maraming salamat po. Thank you, everybody.